So what do you do down there in St. Art besides enjoy paradise?
I'm a freelance writer.
Oh,
so I write
okay.
for a newspaper there, and I write for a few magazines, and I work freelance for an environmental organization. That's what I do.
And so I could read some of your published works.
Yeah, you can.
Under what name would I look?
Laura Beinsdorp. Very Dutch name.
Laura
Retired from
Beinsdorp.
Holland originally. Yeah.
Okay, and so this is a wonderful thing that you can make your living doing that.
Yes, I'm really happy. It's the first year I can actually live off of my writing, so very happy with it. Yeah.
That's very good. What normally are you, like a citizen journalist, would you call yourself, or what do you normally write?
So I write a lot about my travels. That's my favorite part to write about, and I like human interest stories. So I really like people. That's what I like.
Care to open up a stand like this?
I'm sure a lot of people come up to you out of curiosity. I'm sure.
Well, you know.
Is it? So what is the concept? I was trying to live.
Well, as a publicist or someone that is a writer and knows about publishing.
Yes.
How hard do you think it would be for me to get this work published?
I think it's very difficult.
Thank you very much. And how many invitations do you think I get in to go into an art gallery?
No.
Well, I mean, would you invite the kind of scorn that normally would come with this kind of confrontational work?
Okay.
Yeah. There are people getting shot.
Yeah. Well, I think it depends, I guess, on the area you're in. Is that because in the U.S. it really depends where you are.
Well, you're standing in the middle of a liberal cesspool here.
Can I shake your hand, sir?
Oh, sure, sir.
I watch you on Infowars.
Oh.
I appreciate everything you're doing for our country.
Thank you, sir.
It takes a lot of guts to come out here and stand up for what you believe in, and I really appreciate you doing this for everybody.
Here's a get-out-of-jail-free card from Hillary Clinton for you.
I quit drinking. I'm not going back to jail.
Thank you, sir.
That's what they want me to do.
Check out my YouTube channel. Subscribe.
I know who you are. I watch you on. I've seen you on with Alex Jones,
Yes.
and it takes a lot of guts to stand up for what you're doing, man.
Not against these snowflakes.
Yeah.
They get organized.
I seen that one woman came after you. I laughed, man. That was great. But you can't argue against the truth.
They try, though, don't they?
Yeah, it's impossible. It's impossible.
Pleasure to meet you, sir.
You too, man. Thank you.
So you are a well-known character around here, then? Sorry, I don't know, of course, because I'm not from these parts, or from the U.S. for that matter. But
Well, I have a YouTube channel.
Infowars.com, is that what you said?
Well, I've been a guest on the show.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Infowars?
No, I haven't, but I'm going to Google it next time I come home.
It's a news aggregate program.
Okay.
A man by the name of Alex Jones, who started it, who is created his own news network without outside money.
Okay.
So he's not beholden to any interests. So he gets to report on things that most other people would never even dream to touch.
Okay then.
So, you can get on there and hear the truth about things like vaccines, poison in the water, geoengineering programs, DNA modification programs, false flags like 9/11, the most recent one, Las Vegas. So, and find out what's really going on, as opposed to the bullshit these guys feed us.
And is this something that you make?
Well, this is my artwork.
So are you Michael?
I am Michael. So, yes, this is all my work. There's on the back of his get-out-of-jail-free card from Hillary Clinton. You can go to my website and see some of my other things, some of my writings. I'm a published writer. I used to write for a newspaper here called the New Orleans Levy. We don't hold anything back.
Okay.
So I do write a great deal about...
Have you written the book yet?
I've started.
It's hard, isn't it?
Well, only because lack of time.
Yeah.
Only because there are other things coming up, and because of my work, I try to stay current.
Yeah.
And and of course, funds mean a lot as a writer. If you can get free to go ahead and just concentrate on your writing, a lot of other things blossom from that. You know. So between learning how to do marketing on the internet, and everything else. It's a business. Turns into a business. But back to you. Let's find out more about you.
I'm from a very, very small island.
Yes.
It's only 34 square miles. I love traveling. I haven't been to many places in the U.S. as yet. And one of the things is most interesting to me in the U.S. is that, of course, I'm technically European. Another thing that we often mistake the U.S. very similar, because we have similar language and we have a similar look. And then when you come here, you notice how different the cultures actually really are, and also how different the cultures are per state is really unique. And of course, the U.S. is very big, so it also depends per area. It's something that you don't, and actually I'm very surprised again and again by how different it is, because we have.
The United States could break up into 5 different countries
yes,
if it still. As a matter of fact, it probably will shortly. Yeah.
So that's
but that you need to have grown up on an island that small all your life. And your family is originally from?
Holland. So they've been living, they moved to St. Martin about 35 years ago. So I'm 28, and so they've lived there my entire life.
Refresh my memory, St. Martin is ruled by...
French.
Okay.
We are an autonomous country. The Dutch side became autonomous about 7 years ago, which is not going that well yet. We've had 7 governments in 7 years. The last government just fell. And the French side is a municipality de France, so that they're part of France. They have the same, they're basically ruled by France, so it's different. And there's definitely now a very interesting political situation, because of course it's natural for a country to want to become independent. On the other hand, we're so small and we have so little financial means that there's some difficulties there.
I imagine it's all tourist, right?
That's the thing, and of course we just had our hurricane.
Thank you.
So,
and how did you fare? And
we're rebuilding. Everyone in New Orleans probably knows the feeling.
Now you mentioned you write for Environmental.
My topics range normally from environmental topics to human interest in travel.
Can I quiz you and ask you?
No problem.
On how you view the controversy over global warming?
The thing is, we are I believe in global warming. I think
man-made global warming.
Yes, man-made.
In what instance do you believe that?
I think it was obviously created by. I think scientifically, if you look at the CO2 levels, if you look at our atmosphere, if you look at the changes in the last 100 years, I think it's undeniable.
If I may.
Yes, no problem. No problem.
I helped start the Institute for Environmental Alternatives with Professor Ron Cohn in 1971.
Okay.
We knew then we'd be infiltrated so that our message would be construed, so the powers that be would take whatever we found out and used it to hide the truth and benefit themselves. You are right in one instance. And it's not so much that it's man-made global warming, it's man-made geoengineering. I would behoove you as a writer and a journalist to look this up.
Okay, no problem.
The history of weather modification programs.
Okay.
You will see a history going back to 1891 of both private and governmental programs that we've spent billions and billions on to modify the weather. 1954, President Eisenhower started the Department of Weather and Climate Modification. Dr. Ben Livingston took over that program, became known as the father of weather weapons. In 1961, President Eisenhower said in a speech before the UN Assembly that we will use today's technology to control the weather. From 1968 to 1972, we used weather weapons in Vietnam. When that leaked out, the world became so outraged that the UN passed the UN Weather Weapons Treaty banning the use of weather weapons. So they don't normally ban things we don't have.
That's true.
Right, so.
But I'm just wondering if we had that power, right? Wouldn't it be used in a different way? Because why target, for example, areas that have the least amount of influence on the world? For example, the Caribbean.
again, thank you very much for a very intelligent question. We are not the only ones that have these weather weapons. You understand, it's probably the perfect weapon. It has plausible deniability. How do you prove someone, is created and steered a hurricane? And for what, But start thinking of the advantages you could have if indeed you had that technology. And we do, because if you fast forward, right, there's a leaked document, 1997, from the Air Force called Weather as a False Multiplier, Controlling the Weather by 2025. And it's a 1,500-page scientific document that you can go through and see how they use radio wave technology, vibrations.
Do you have links like these on your website?
Oh, you can go any of these terms, weather weapons, weather modification programs.
I'm a super curious person, so I'm ready to read anything.
Yes.
I think unless you look at all 50 sides of something, you can't know, or you can't form your own opinion. It's all opinion based.
And that's why I say I like to leave it to Google, because you can, as I said, when you go into, let's say, history of weather modification programs, you boom, and you're going to get multiple pages to look from, and then you can decipher what
you have to look at the sources.
Well, that's it. You can go straight to the scientific documents.
Yeah.
I mean, none of this is hidden. You understand it's not hidden. It's hidden in plain sight. So all of this global warming thing is a beard. In other words, what do? They experiment on the weather, and then they blame us when things go wrong. Oh, it's your fault because of the CO2. But when I ask people in the business, and I've talked to people that taught, allegedly, climate science, and I would ask them this very basic question, they wouldn't know the answer to it. If CO2 is the big boogeyman, there's too much of it, right? Right? It's a big boogeyman. Okay.
I'll be right there, Maria.
How much of it is in the atmosphere right now? And what percentages would be acceptable? So of all that we're breathing in right now, percentage-wise, how much of it is carbon, CO2? As I said, I've asked alleged professionals. I don't know the answer. Do you know the answer? Or you would say,
I don't know enough on the topic.
But this is a basic thing. If you're going to measure the level of CO2 in the atmosphere, you have to know what is the optimum level. You have to know where it is now, and then how much more or less we really need to make it optimum, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we're talking bullshit. We're just talking generalities. So this is it. Nobody knows. Very few people know how much CO2 is in the air. It's less than half of 1%. It's 0.04%. It's a trace element. And it always has been a trace element. I mean, it was the highest, I think, at the Jurassic.
But I feel like I'm not being able to because I need to read more on it.
Well, it's not. I'm not giving you information. Please look up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can look this stuff up and go, well, that was just a crazy old man on the street. He didn't know what he's talking about. Or you can go, wow. Then you can come back and do what that guy did earlier and say, thanks a lot. You changed my life, you asshole. Now everybody, I can't write about anything. They're calling me crazy.
I'll definitely look up your website.
Well, I'm going to look up your work, too.
Okay.
So what? Give me that. How do you spell your name?
Write it down.
Yeah.
Do you have a pen?
Yeah, sure. Of course, I got a pen. Uncle Sam, I got everything. Yeah, just, right on back there. And I gave you a get-out-of-jail-free card, didn't I? From Hillary Clinton?
Yes.
Good.
Can I take your photograph?
You can do anything you want to do, darling. I mean, but I'm not,
Because I would love to include it on my piece on New Orleans.
Sure.
Where are you originally from?
New York.
Yeah, New York. I've been to New York as well. It's one of the New Orleans, New York, and Miami, because that's an easy flight.
That was a long time ago. Been here about 40-odd years. To be able to publish this in your article? Yeah. You so the liberals won't get triggered, like, how could you?
And if they do, that's okay. Hey, the worst thing is when we can't have discussions, no matter what your opinion are.
Well, thank you. That's what I like doing out here. This is like sort of talk show radio without the walls.
Yeah.
So as you say, draw a crowd.
You know what? I might not agree on certain things, but I think that the most important thing is if we all agree on one thing, then we're never going to have growth.
Yeah.
The only way there's growth is because there are discussions.
Thank you again. I mean, if I was 100 years younger, I'd ask you to marry me right now. But that's,
Nice to meet you.
It was a pleasure. But again, look up some of the stuff I talked about. You're gonna, I think you'll be. I think they'll send you down a rabbit hole that gets pretty weird.
Weird's good.
Bye bye. That was a lot of fun.